Friends, welcome back to another wrap-up video. Today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I read in April. I ended up reading 5 books. This month I read 2 print books and I read 3 audiobooks and 2 print books. So let's dive into the books. Okay, I feel like my glasses are just like way too much glare, so they're coming off. Okay, so the first book that I finished this month was Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. Now, this book I would highly recommend. I gave it 4 stars because I felt like it was a little bit slower than I would have liked, but it was super solid. I think this could easily be a 5 stars for a lot of people. Basically what this book is about is about this alternative medicine facility where they do like oxygen therapy. Basically something bad happens at this facility and there is a court trial that happens as a result of that. And essentially the book kind of takes us through the trial and kind of the unfolding outcome of what happens. What I really liked about this book is I felt like you got into the characters' heads. It just felt a lot more real than a lot of thrillers. I feel like a lot of times when you read these kind of mystery thrillers, like some of them are just kind of crazy. Like they're just a little bit over the top. And the next book I'm going to talk about, The Guest List, I feel like these books are kind of polar opposites. I enjoyed both of them, but this one just feels more real. Like it feels like you're actually getting to know like real characters and real people that are like multi-dimensional. This one is just like just so over the top. If you have read these books, you'll know what I mean. But this one is just way more like unrealistic. And I think that's like a style choice. I think that is meant to be like this. But if you're interested in both of these books, I have done separate 3-minute thriller reviews on them. So check those out. Anyway, The Guest List. This book is a book that is a really fast read. It's fun, it's a little bit more lighthearted, and it's a classic whodunit. There is this wedding that happens on this creepy Irish island, and basically all the people have these like creepy backstories where you don't know who to trust. You know early on that something bad has happened and you don't know who the victim is, you don't know who has committed the crime, you don't know why, you don't know where, and the story kind of unravels what happened. I thought this book was a little overhyped, I'm not gonna lie. Like I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was enjoyable. It's a pretty quick read, so if you're interested, you might as well just pick it up and read it because you can get through it pretty fast. But I don't know, I felt like it was a little bit overhyped in my opinion. Yeah. This was the next book. Okay, now let's get into the audiobooks. So I read 3 of them. The first one I feel like should count as like 4 books because the audiobook was over 20 hours, so it was beefy. And that book was Spillover. This one is a book that I've talked about in several videos also, basically saying that I was interested in reading it. I think if you are interested in coronavirus, like learning about diseases that come from animals, I think this book is definitely worth the read. But as I said, it is a bit of an investment because it is quite long. But essentially this book talks about the kind of how it happens that diseases spread from animals to people. And it talks about several different examples of this at length. So it talks about HIV and AIDS, it talks about Hendra virus, it talks about Ebola, it talks about different diseases like that. However, personally, I think if you are interested in learning more about diseases and you want to read a book like this, I would personally recommend picking up Deadliest, which is another book that I read last month. That book I gave 5 stars. This book I only gave 3 stars because I thought, first of all, Deadliest Enemy is shorter. I feel like it's just a little bit more concise, and it also covers a wider range of topics because it also talks about like bio warfare and antibiotic resistant diseases, but it also talks about the influenzas of the world, and it talks about animal-derived diseases as well. So I think if you just want like a one-hit wonder book to kind of read about the diseases, but you don't want to just focus on the animal stuff, then pick up Deadliest Enemy. I think that book was better. But For being a like 20+ hour audiobook about diseases from animals, it was actually pretty interesting. It has a lot of stories. It goes into a lot of, it really is focused on the examples and the stories behind the diseases. So I think this book it should not be as intimidating as it looks. I'll say that. Next, so after I read Spillover, I wanted something a little bit more light and fluffy. So I picked up Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I had never heard of Glennon Doyle or read any of her books, but I saw this book popping up everywhere. It was like New York Times bestseller. It was the book selection from Reese's book club. So I thought a lot of people might be interested in like a review on this one or be interested in reading it themselves. So I picked it up and it was really solid. I was kind of between a 4 and 5 stars on this one. I'm gonna be honest, it is a little bit fluffy. It's kind of like a fluffy motivational book where if you're in a rut in your life or you just want some like pick-me-up motivation to go for your dreams, then this book is for you. There's not really anything not to like about it because it's just like motivational memoir, fluffy kind of stuff. But that being said, like I feel like some of these books, while they are kind of fluffy, I feel like they still have enough in there to like give you like an oomph to make the change that maybe you want to make in your life. It's not too long. I think the audiobook is like 8 hours, I want to say. I think if you are someone who likes Rachel Hollis and if you read any of her books like Girl Wash Your Face, Girl Take a Bath, I don't know, what are the other ones? I think if you like her writing style, you will probably really enjoy this book because it has a very similar vibe to those books. So yeah, check that out. And then finally, I read another mystery. I read The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. This book I gave 4 stars. I went into the book with very, very high expectations because Kayla from Books and Lala has like raved about this book for years and it's always been on my TBR as like something I want to get to eventually. And I saw that it was on Scribd and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this one. And I thought it was super solid. It was a very, very solid 4 stars. The reason I didn't give it 5 stars, I feel like the ending, like I was expecting something like completely out of this world magical based on the explanation that I've heard Kayla give about this book. And I don't know, it didn't quite live up to that expectation that I had in my head. Nonetheless, it was really solid. It's basically about this young woman who like gets this letter that she has some mystery inheritance from some long lost relative and she is like really down on her luck. She could really use some money right now. So she's like, okay, I don't think that this is meant for me, but I'm gonna go ahead and follow up on this. I really like Ruth Ware's writing style. So I gave it 4 stars. The reading experience I thought was A+, 5 stars. It's just like the ending didn't quite meet my expectations, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. So yeah, those were the books that I read in April. Let me know if you read any of these books. I would love to know. And yeah, that's it. Bye guys.